Hello, and welcome back to the Solera Elevate Blueprint podcast, where we highlight the leaders shaping the future of HR, recruiting, and organizational growth. Today, we're joined by someone who understands reinvention, resilience, and smart scaling on a level few leaders ever experience. Welcome, Stephen. We're so happy to have you, Stephen Perry.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Glad to be here.
Steve here is a financial service entrepreneur who has built his company from the ground up by pivoting boldly, embracing innovation, and investing deeply in AI driven optimization while keeping the human element at the center of every decision. And his story is equal parts disruption, discipline, and faith. And we're so excited to have you here.
Excited to be here. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, your story is so unique. I know not too many entrepreneurs have experienced this. So let's just, if we can, start out and give us a little bit of a history about how you were in a previous career making really good money and
Yeah.
had to make that hard decision. I'm going to let it go.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I would say at the heart, like I've always been an entrepreneur. So I started my first company when I was 15 years old. And that was because, I wanted to play on the basketball team and my parents couldn't really afford to let me play on the team. So I had to go make money. And, you can imagine at 15, no one wants to pay you very much. So I realized, like, if I could figure out a way to sell something that people needed, they didn't care how old I was. They just needed to get it done and were willing to pay whatever the market said it was worth. I've always been an entrepreneur. In fact, even thinking into college, like my daughters were asking me this the other day. So my dad went to the Naval Academy. I had a full ride Naval ROTC scholarship, 60 grand a year to go to a beautiful school in San Diego on the beach. And I gave that up. And they're like, Dad, why did you give that up? And I said, well, the United States government has everything planned out. They told me exactly how much money I was going to make every year for the next 20 years of my career. And nothing was more demoralizing to me than that. And
Wow.
so I gave it up. And, oddly enough, I would just be finishing my 20-year career in the Navy had I stayed in that. And so instead, I fast tracked college and went right into the financial advisory world my senior year of college. So I started at New York Life Insurance Company as an advisor. I was 20 years old, right? And I looked like I was 12. So that first 5 years was entrepreneurial, right? I was building my own practice. And one key part to the story, I grew up in Alaska. And I knew, like, I wasn't a good Alaskan. I did all the Alaska things, but I didn't love them. I wanted to come back to like civilization in the lower 48. But I had just built this huge business. Huge is generous. I had built a business with clients physically located in Alaska. And that was like the hardest thing to do. I didn't want to redo that. So
Yeah.
I found out if I went into the leadership track and did well, the company would move me somewhere and give me an office. So I spent 12 years progressing through the executive leadership ranks at a Fortune 100 company. So I was partner, senior partner, managing partner. I was the youngest at each of those levels throughout my career in the whole company. And ultimately got to a point where I was 37 years old, Lisa, and running, one of their top offices in a large region, almost 150 people at our firm. They were paying me 900 grand a year to do the things that they wanted me to do, and they felt like I needed to be doing. And I kind of looked at it and I'm like, this is capping the potential that God has given me. And I fortunately had kind of developed a life mission, and that is that I'm a bold, encouraging, and generous follower of Jesus who will help fund billions to grow God's kingdom by leading others to live radically generous lives.
Wow.
And when you can't wake up in the morning and think, I am doing everything I can to live out that calling and the gifting, it becomes pretty difficult to keep doing that every day.
Yeah.
Layer on that the fact that part of my role was helping all of our advisors reach all of their personal and professional goals and recruiting new people to get into the industry, asking them, hey, you should leave this $250,000 a year job to bet on yourself and start your own business. And I wasn't doing that.
Mm.
So after 17 years, my wife and I together said, all right, it's time to step out in faith and do this. And I'll tell you one thing, Lisa, like the first week after I was done, like I did go interview. I interviewed at an $800 billion wealth management firm, global firm, with the chief talent officer. I'm in my basement. She's in her tower in Manhattan. And after about 5 minutes, she said, hey, you can't work for anybody. You have to like run your own business. And I was like, I knew that, but thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a God sign.
Totally. Totally.
So that's awesome. Okay, so she gave you the go ahead and that not the knowing that you already knew. And
Yeah.
so now you have gone into business for yourself.
Yeah.
And within that first year, you were doing well,
Yeah.
but
Well,
you weren't
mm,
quite meeting the goals or the reality that you knew you had ahead of you. And you had some big audacious goals and you're like, I know I can get to them.
yeah.
So you had to do yet another major pivot. How did that feel?
Yeah. So I'm too optimistic. So very early on, I brought on a partner who's our COO, Brandon. And he's the aerospace engineer, like systems orally, like, prove it kind of guy. And together we're phenomenal pair. But yeah, I thought we would be crushing it 12 months in. From the very beginning, Lisa, the whole like thesis of the company, our vision is 100,000 placements by 2030. And if and when we do that, the company's going to be worth a lot of money, and we will capitalize on that. And again, the whole reason for the company is to create a significant pool of money, a well, if you will, to fund um, kingdom work, missionaries, people doing amazing work both locally and globally all around the world. And so, one thing I know is people who buy companies like recurring revenue. And so we built the whole company on a subscription model for really recruiting lead generation, if you will. I built a team. We almost had 50 people on the team. We had a call center making thousands and thousands of calls a day. We make 1 million calls in the first year to reach out to career changer candidates to say, hey, are you interested in a career in financial services? And then we partnered with the local branches of Fortune 200 wealth management firms and sent them pre-interviewed leads of candidates who were interested in that. If you know anything about the subscription model, like it's recurring revenue is nice, but it takes a while to stack. And unfortunately, we were just dealing with checkbooks that were too small. So we were constantly in a world where our clients wanted better quality candidates. They wanted more for less, and that was never going to change. And so after honestly 12 months of that, we found an adjacent niche that we could use some of the same skills that we had learned and offer a lot more premium of a solution. That was a lot more defined. Like, what was success,
Oh,
right? Success was this person got hired and we're willing to pay a good amount of money for that. And fortunately, the first year we were recruiting commission only life insurance agents and financial advisors. And that's like the hardest thing you could possibly do. So like anything after that was easy.
yeah.
Now it's been easy, but we shut that whole side of the business down. We actually like let every client go and completely moved into an adjacent market that from the outside, like no one would know the difference, but it's a completely different process, completely different
Yeah.
avatar. We turned all but one of our entire staff over because
Mm.
we needed a new skill set. The first year and a half, almost everyone was international. Now nearly everyone is in the US, full-time employee W-2. You know the pros and cons of all of that. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
and so, yeah, so now we're in this completely new, different model. I'll tell you, well, you're going to talk about technology in a little bit, but I will tell you that has been the focus from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, because it'll help you with efficiency. You have before you've used the phrase capturing efficiency. So instead of scaling, what does that mean to you? And how does it shape the way you lead to optimize your team today that you have locally on your W-2?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, a couple things I want to say. Right, so I literally right before this call posted a LinkedIn post that says, "You may not know this, but we're not a recruiting company. We are a talent platform, and that's because of the work we've quietly been doing in the background the whole time."
Uh-huh.
I came at it from this approach of what do humans need to do now and forever and always, and that is an interpersonal connection that a computer can fake, but it can never actually authentically do.
Yeah.
And then what can a computer do? Everything else to help facilitate that. And so from the very beginning, we've done some, I have to trademark this. We do video cover letters. So every interview is recorded on Zoom. Our clients love this because we send them a 10-minute video cover letter of every candidate that we submit. They get to see how that person interacts and appears and shows up on camera, which, in a client facing world is super important, especially in the wealth management industry.
Yeah.
And so if you've ever sat in an interview where you're interviewing somebody and you're like, if I had just seen them for 10 seconds, I would know I shouldn't have blocked off an hour in my calendar for this. Our clients feel that pain. And so we're able to save them all of that time with doing that. Right. So that's a product, that's a feature our clients
Yeah.
love. I don't know why no one else does it, but we've done that from the beginning. So we have thousands of these and they're all saved. They're all transcribed. We have them all video. And so we have been quietly vectorizing all of that information, taking it and parsing the video into bits and bytes that the computer can dissect and analyze and use to help us and our team get smarter at who do we reach out, who do we try to place, who do we get on our calendar, who do our clients want to hire. And my vision is that in the next couple few years, the wealth management industry will have no choice but to use us for our deep insights of the talent graph that is the wealth management space. And
Right.
so it's two parts, right? From the internal team, right? My vision is that our recruiters, all they do is they show up each morning and all the meetings have been scheduled, all the interactions have been done. They get a dashboard that says, here's who you're meeting with and why today, both candidates and clients. And their job is to just sit there and be human and connect and ask great questions and document everything that they do by really just pushing the record button. And then that gets pushed to our clients. Um,
Yeah.
and then on the flip side, right? Our clients can't help but want to work with someone because no one manually doing it will ever even be able to hold a candle to that. And frankly, they
Yeah.
don't know what they need to know, and we will know that. So that's the vision. That's where we're headed, and it's not just efficiency; it's totality.
Yeah. Well, and now you have this database that you're building and it's got them live still in it, so to say. You don't just
Mhm,
have to remember or go off of notes of somebody. You
mhm.
actually can see them, hear them, see how they engage. And so you can place them in the best places because different organizations have different cultures and different ways of working. And so I'm sure that that can come into place and you really need the human interaction to really unveil some of those things.
Yeah, 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 and that's the other half of it, right? All those intake calls with clients, same thing, all recorded, all vectorized, and all quantifiable and matchable. And it's getting smarter and smarter over time to know
Yeah.
exactly who the right fit is.
Yeah. So what got you to dive heavily into this technology? How did you discover it? How did you even think through this process? I know you've got, your partner is I think works really well with this, but what got you this idea on how to develop this kind of a program?
Yeah. I look back and I see like all the people who were like at the top of the, Forbes richest list, right? Like they were there at the right time, right? Like Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates were, and like they had an idea and they jumped in on it, right? Like all of the social media marketing, the digital marketing people that were there like in the late 2000s, early 2000s, tens, and they figured out all of that, right? So we're in the AI trend. And I knew when my former Fortune 100 employer was making rules about all of the technology we couldn't use and we had to run through compliance, that all of the wealth management firms were having the same issues. And so they weren't going to be able to keep up with what was latest. And so removing myself from that, I knew that was an all in bet we had to make. And I'm not a tech guy. I'm an early adopter of tech, but I certainly don't know how to code anything. And so that was really the thesis going in. Like we have to be on the leading edge of this. And for the wealth management industry, it's a cheat code, right? They're 5 to 10 years behind everything else. So really we just have to know what like the more forward thinking industries are doing and apply
Yeah.
that to the wealth management industry and we get to be on the leading edge.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's phenomenal. And the fact that you are watching some of the patterns of other successful people, even if they weren't in the industry, and seeing what they're doing, when someone's doing something really well, sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel as much. You just have to understand how to incorporate that and dissect that into your format and your business. So sometimes it's scary. A lot of people are scared of diving into technology and making changes like that. And I know a lot in this industry about losing that human connection, but you're actually using it to actually have even a bigger impact with that
Yeah.
human connection.
Yeah.
And so what has kind of been the feelings that go behind both you and your partner, as well as your staff that are there on utilizing this technology? Was it a long learning curve? Was there some resistance, or did they really kind of embrace it because they realize it just made their job a lot easier, a lot more efficient, as well as having some fun doing it?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. Like So, our team is new enough and we're forward enough on like, this is where we're going, this is where we're headed. So adoption is not necessarily an issue.
Yeah.
We develop agilely. So it's like, we don't wait for it to be fully baked before we roll it out. So there's bugs and errors all the time. And I don't have the budget I need for, a full development team to do everything that we want to do. So
Yeah.
I've bootstrapped the whole thing to this point.
Yeah.
And so it's just part of the DNA.
Okay.
And one of my philosophies,
Mhm.
Lisa, I feel like God has given everybody a unique set of gifts. And growing up, we're all taught like, okay, be well rounded, work on your weaknesses, not just your strengths. And then you jump into a job and the job requires all of these things that maybe, you were attracted to it because this piece of it was your gifting, but you have all of this. And I feel like that's baloney. And I'm glad everyone else operates that way. But our company, our focus is on like, what is your strength? What is your special gifting that you were put on this earth to play that part? And does that fit with the role that we need done like 80% of the time? And so if you can
Yeah.
operate 80% of your time in your gifting, you're going to be 300% more productive than someone else that doesn't have that. And you're going to be way happier too. And so with the idea that the technology over time will develop and do these things, which allows you to do more of this thing that you're gifted in, got to fight that. They're going to see the big picture and they're going to see like if there's hiccups or when there's hiccups along the way, that's part of helping them get to where they get to operate more in that gifting.
Yeah. So even for someone who's becoming an early adopter of a technology into their business, so they know they need it. They didn't know where to go, but they're getting ready. They're like, we've got to dive in. So it's just a matter of starting from the top up and having that corporate culture of, hey, we're going to walk through this. There is going to be hiccups, but we're going to work on this together. We're going to take some deep breaths when it does hiccup, and then we're going to figure out solutions to it
Oh,
together. So kind of
oh,
having more of that teamwork and just understanding of like, yes, it is a process, but as we climb up this mountaintop, it gets better and better.
totally. Totally.
Yeah, that's awesome. So many leaders struggle knowing when to reinvent versus when to push through challenges. What advice could you give an entrepreneur who feels stuck in a model that isn't working right now?
Yeah. I don't have a problem reinventing. I have a problem reinventing too much. And I
Oh,
know that. So here's the advice: have somebody or a group of people around you that will tell you the truth and that are built differently than you. And
wow.
so if you don't have a propensity to shift and refocus and adapt, right? Surround yourself with people that do so they can get you out of that bubble. And then for me, it's like, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this. And so I have to surround myself with people like, hey, Steve, you're like changing course quickly and you're losing the team and you're losing efficiencies. And that's, be careful, like run these ideas by me. And don't share them with agree. That's probably the best for the team.
Yeah.
Um, that's the best.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with people who do things better than you do and learning from them and using them for advice can really help put together, because doing it alone is really hard because we're not great at everything. But finding people who are smarter than us in certain areas so that we can collaborate together and really can help you grow. And I think that's, some of the best advice. And sometimes when we're an entrepreneur, we forget about it. We're just diving in so heavily. This is our baby. And you forget that you need a team to help you out. And
Yeah.
whether they're physically part of your staff or they're in your, so to say, network of,
Mhm.
advisors or mentors or friends that can be truthful to you, be honest with you. And sometimes it takes a while to find those people. But when you do, hang on to them and you give back to them too. So there's usually a reciprocal for both things. They do something better than you do and vice versa. And so they're looking to you for advice at times for certain things.
Can I give you a quick model for that?
Yeah, I would love it.
So this was just like
Mm.
appeared to me actually last week. My wife and I were in marriage retreat. And it's great for marriage. It's great for business, right? You know, most marriages, most business partnerships kind of have this tension where like there's like the visionary person who's like running a million miles an hour, and then the integrator who's like, oh, hold on, hold on, hold on, and they're like at this chain all the time. Like the best advice I've ever heard is like, well, they need to give a little and you need to give a little. And I just think that's so like that doesn't allow anyone to work in their strengths, going back to the previous point. And
Okay.
so this model occurred to me where I think this is a better way to do it, right? So you've got, both the partners, they're here, right? And like, all right, where are we going? We're going to go somewhere. All right, we're going to go here. All right, perfect. So the integrator is going to like take the team and move along through this, and the visionary is going to run there and look around and then be like, oh, what wait, oh, look over here. Ooh, this is really nice over here. They're going to run back to the integrator and say, hey, this is what I saw in the future. We should move a little bit the other direction. And the integrator is going to be like, did you think of this and this and this and this and this? And I'm like, no, I didn't. And it's like, all right, we're going to keep on track. So they're going to keep going here, run up, look at those things. Ah, yeah, he's right. That's not the next thing. Okay, what about over here? Right. And we're going to come back. It's going to be like, hey, like, this is really good. We actually need to head this way. Well, did you think about this, this, and this? Yes, I did this time. I did. And it's okay. All right. Well, now this time we're going to pivot and we'll start going out. And like that allows both of them to operate at the speeds that they're comfortable with, work in their strengths, and really get the best out of both.
Wow, that's awesome. And it's so true because you don't want to have to compromise sometimes because it doesn't get you to that finish line in that right pivotal point that that you needed to go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
missing out on some things. And so, yeah. And you're that visionary. You're able to go out there and grab all those things. And then you've got people surrounding you that can help manage that, help get you there and analyze some key points that might be missing.
Yep.
But yeah, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. I love it. So looking back, even 10 years ago, where you were and to where you are now, whether it's mindset or mission or purpose or systems that you could give to somebody that's just trying this kind of in the middle or getting started to get them that one big step forward to keep them moving.
Yeah. I kind of opened up with it, like my personal mission statement, right?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's, dude, have your mission, have your vision, right? Do all that. Like, first off, we live by that. We every team meeting, we talk about our mission, which is to enable our clients to maximize growth by drawing from the best. Our vision, which is 100,000 placements, top placements by 2030. Our company values, excellence, faith, family, generosity, growth. And every team meeting, every time we're together, we talk about that. We share stories, how we've seen that. So I think that applies to the person as well. I shared my personal mission at the beginning, and I'll give just a quick framework for that. Because as I said, like that mission is what let me know I was not aligned. 999 out of 1,000. Actually, I asked ChatGPT once. It was like 1 in a million are leaving a career where I probably would have made 30 to $40 million over the rest of my career. They give that up to move to something else. Right? Most people don't do that. But because I had my mission statement, who I was, who God created me to be, and what He created me to do, I was able to do that. So you heard in 3 parts, right? I'm a bold, encouraging, and generous follower of Jesus. What are your gifts? What gifts do you feel like God has given you that, like, things, the cliches, what would you do for free? What do you love to do? What do you typically see you're successful at? What do people compliment you for, right? The next thing was, what is it that I feel like I'm called to accomplish in my life? All right. So what am I good at? What am I called to accomplish? So for me, who will fund billions to grow God's kingdom? And then the last piece, how are you going to do that? Like, what way are you going to do that? For me, it's by help fund billions to grow God's kingdom by leading others to live radically generous lives. Right? I'm a leader. I want to collaborate with others. And that's how we're going to do it. So what are your giftings? What are you going to do? And how are you going to do it? With that mission, then you can really direct a lot of the next steps that you take in your life. So that would be my
Yeah.
advice.
Phenomenal. I feel like I need to sit down with a piece of paper again because mine are, I feel like I have them, but I'm not sure if they're so clear that I could just boldly state them out there. So maybe, making sure that my alignment is right with, all facets of my life and getting them together. So that's huge. Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I know this is going to benefit so many people. It's definitely benefited me. I am so appreciative of just all of your wisdom, all of your advice, and your time that you have given us here. And greatly appreciate you having us here. And hopefully we can have you back one day to share a whole nother end of it, because I know there's so much more. So
Well,
thanks for joining us.
yeah. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay.